Hi everyone, it's Heather Nichols and welcome to another Make It Monday. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about stamping with watercolor mediums. And for today's project I am going to use what are called gelatos. They are basically a pigment stick, and you can use other types of products that are out there. You can use watercolor crayons, and you could also use watercolors that you might already have, and the difference would be like a watercolor crayon or these gelato sticks. You can color literally right onto your stamp to put the color on it. Or if it's a watercolor that you're on a brush, you can load your brush with the pigment and use the brush to add the pigment right to the stamp. But in this case I'm using the sticks, and I have two shades of purple, a light and a dark, and I added the light and used the dark for shadow and some other details. And then on the leaves I'm using the olive green as the base of the leaves and adding a little bit of that darker green for some shadowing and details. Now you need to get it wet to transfer it from the stamp to the cardstock, and so I'm using a water brush to just dampen the areas with it, and then I'm gonna stamp it right onto my cardstock. And the cardstock that I am using for this project is actually the letterpress cardstock from the Make It Market kit that was out in February or March 1st. And I really like this cardstock. It's takes watercolors really beautifully. You can also use the regular white cardstock that we sell. Maybe you have some watercolor paper you'd like to experiment with at home. It's a lot of fun to play around with different types of papers. So again, this is transferring the pigment from the stamp to the paper using water from a water brush. And then now I'm going to show you the difference. You can also wet it with just a spritzer bottle. So again, I'm going to add the color right to the stamp. So the light purple, and then I'm adding details with the darker purple. And then the olive green for the leaves. And then I will do the darker green for the shadows and details on the leaves. And then now, instead of using a water brush to wet that pigment to transfer it to the cardstock, I'm using just a water spritzer bottle and just literally spray it right onto the stamp and get it wet and stamp it right onto your cardstock. And there's a definite difference in how the spritzed image looks versus the one that you wet with the watercolor brush. And I like to do a couple images with one, loading up the stamp with the pigment. Do it a couple times. You'll get some different shades, some lighter and some brighter ones that'll pop forward. And then I dried them with a heat tool just to speed it up. The letterpress cardstock is nice because it doesn't warp as easily as just like a regular cardstock. And I just added sentiments from the Watercolor Garden set to the tops of both images. And then what I'm going to do next is, when I'm making a card that I'm doing all this work and make this beautiful watercolor image, I'm not going to add a whole lot of detail to the card. So I'm just going to put kind of just a little narrow strip of ribbon at the top of the images. I cut about 3/4 of an inch off the top of the cardstock that I started with, which was the size of a card front. So I'm just going to attach a strip of ribbon right to the top, and what I'm going to do then is I'll take these over to my sewing machine and just run a line of stitching right across the top of the cardstock to kind of hold everything together. And once I have that done, I'm going to use some adhesive and I'm going to attach it to a craft card base. I really do use enough enough adhesive on the back of my images, especially when they're watercolored, so that they're just going to adhere nicely. They're going to lay flat to your card base. I am all about using plenty of adhesive so that your projects don't fall apart. We'll just get that attached to the card front. And like I said, you can see there's a definite difference in the two images. One is kind of a little bit more muted, and the spritzed one, the colors are just a little bit brighter. So whichever look you're going for. And now it's your turn to try stamping with some different watercolor mediums. And you can go to Nicole's blog, get all of the details on posting and sharing your projects and the contest. Thanks for joining me for this week's Make It Monday. I hope you all have fun creating and have a great week.